Hi, my name is Jon-Lee, Johnny Campbell. I'm an actress, model, producer, director, and I'm excited to be here on Conversations with Pearl.
Hello, sunshine, good to see you again. Had to walk out to let you back in. Stuck in a storm of a relationship. Lost my fire. Oh, and I forgot about me for way too long. But it's rolled on. Now there ain't no shade around here. Once you leave the clouds, you're under. Ain't it funny how there ain't no rain or clean? Why'd it take so long to leave you in the rearview mirror? Now nobody gonna steal my sunshine or turn my blue sky gray. All I know is at the end of the day, wildflowers grow when there ain't no shade.
Hey everybody, this is Pearl Sharenza with Women's Successful Living, and you are on another Conversations with Pearl. And as you know, we love to bring guests on that are empowering, inspiring, and really doing some amazing things in their lives. And it could be women who have overcome challenges in their lives or just have a powerful lesson for us to learn. And today, that's exactly what we're doing. We're going to have our special guest today. Her name is Jonni Campbell, and she has aspired for a career as an actress and a model since a very young age. She receiving a spinal cord injury at the age of 16 really changed her life from a vehicle accident. She found it hard to get roles fit for her. And as she continuously auditioned to no avail, people were not casting paraplegics on their shows. So Jonni took it upon herself and started her own theater group, directing, producing, and acting in plays. This is a lady getting it done, right? Going after her goals. So although founded by Jonni in 2020, Differently Able Entertainment has a long history under other names such as Luna. Today, Jonni continually strives to make waves in the industry, advocating for not only herself, but many marginalized causes. Jonni has pushed past those obstacles to become a producer, director, acting coach, actress, model, talent manager, makeup artist, and social media page developer, just to name a few. She lives in Tucson. She has 4 amazing children, and she is an amazing lady. And what I love a lot about what she shared with me at the beginning is, I'm very big about, yes, we are moms, we're wives, and, we've talked about that here often, Jonni. But I love that when I read a bio and they say, this is who I am. And, oh, by the way, I'm an amazing mom, wife, or whatever that is in the world. So I love that you know who you are and then you're stepping forward with that. So thank you for joining us today.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate you having me here.
I'm so excited. So I want to delve right into, because I know we never have enough time on the show to really get to everything we want to talk about. So tell us a little bit about, like, at a young age, like, what inspired you to become an actor or actress? And then walk us through how your life changed at 16 years old and how you can, many people with what you've gone through will be like, oh, woe is me, I'm not going to go after that, and just sit back and they just sit in that depression of what's happened to them, right? And you push through it, and you've done some amazing and empowering things in your life. So share with us, kind of walk us through the journey of where you've gotten to today.
Well, I've had a very tumultuous life growing up and throughout and even before my accident. And so, like, theater and acting was always a way to, like, escape. And I loved playing pretend and make believe and all that. And I've always loved movies. I love to sing. I love to dance. Cyndi Lauper, when I was young, very young, she was one of my biggest inspirations. I just love her and Bette Midler and just, like, these really big personality women. I've always very much been inspired by them. I consider myself one. I'm a pretty big personality, and so and colorful and just fun. Actress wise, I like to go a little more serious, but those are the ones that really inspired me growing up, are these women who just really weren't afraid to be themselves. I found a lot of inspiration and empowerment from them. And yeah, growing up, it was just, like I said, it was always an outlet. It was just fun for me, and I liked to be able to escape my reality and enter a different one, even if just for a little bit.
Yeah. I think I love. So you named all my favorites right there. You just named them all. I love Cyndi Lauper. She's the first thing that plays in my car every day. Girls just want to have fun, right? That's just really, I love that. And I also listen to oh my gosh, Megan Trainor for I Love Me. Like I just think, and Bette Midler. I mean, those are some amazing women, and and you are right. I mean, since I've gotten to know you through the last podcast we did on the other show, that's what got me was like you have this big personality, and at the same time you have a very caring heart, and your story is so powerful, right? And so I just love when women can take that and say, here's who I am, and be very raw and open with it. And I love that you're doing that in your journey. So tell us, 16 years old, you have this accident. Tell us a little bit about how that changed your life.
Yeah, I was on my way to work. I was a CNA at the time. And so luckily I'd gone through like EMT training and stuff like that. I was conscious through my wreck, and I knew everything that was going on. And it was an hour and a half before anybody found me. So like I had to kind of like talk to myself like a first responder, like, Jon-Lee, you're going into shock. Like, this is what's happening to your body. And then afterwards, luckily, I was accepted to the Shriners Hospital about a month and a half after my accident, out in Philadelphia. And they have a special spinal cord injury unit out there. And it was really therapeutic and beneficial, and just, I don't know, I can't even think of the words to describe it, but it was amazing experience to be around other people my age going through similar situations, some far worse and some not as bad as mine. I have friends that have regained the ability to walk, and and then I had another friend of mine that like literally this was like all she had. Like, this is how she drove her chair. Was like, that was like the only movement that she had. She was on breathing tubes. She was on feeding tubes. She was on, all kinds of things. And so like, I've seen the spectrum of spinal cord injuries. I'm very fortunate in myself that I have a very low injury. And so I haven't had to worry about, breathing issues and things like dysreflexia, which is when your blood pressure just goes for really no reason. I have a very low injury, and so I'm fortunate in that I don't have those health side effects of a spinal cord injury. I have other things, but I consider myself extremely, extremely lucky to gone through what I went through. Because I was driving 110 down a dirt road, not realize I was going that fast, and then realizing it, and then it being too late. But just to live through that and to still have my faculties and my ability to take care of myself and maintain mostly independence, not that I don't ever need help, because obviously need stuff sometimes, but I consider myself very, very, very fortunate. And that, seeing that like so soon after my accident and just being around people that were so supportive really helped me. And then also I'm from a lot of places, but I graduated high school and I had my car wreck in a very small town in western Nebraska. And so that small town support community, and going to like a high school where like everybody knows you, everybody reminded me constantly that I was still the same person inside. Like, I was still Jon-Lee. Like, my legs don't work anymore, but I'm still me. And so that also was very helpful. And so people, a lot of times I get that, like, how do you, like, you're really positive and stuff. And it's like, it's because I had an amazing support network at the beginning of my journey. I have to say that. If I didn't have the friends and the family and the support of the Shriners, nurses, and therapists and all that, I don't know if I would have handled it as well as I do. And not saying that I handle it great, because I still have my moments where I struggle with depression and anxiety and just frustration with the world not really being set up to handle people in wheelchairs.
I'm listening and I'm going, it's so true. Like last night, talking about the wheelchair situation. So I took my mom to go see, I was telling you before we got on the show, to go see Long Island Medium. And we went to a place over here in Lakeland. And I had to bring her because she's not just a walk well. So we have a wheelchair for her when we go to places like that. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'm like trying to get into the main bathroom. And I'm like, how is this ADA compliant? Like, I'm struggling to get the chair in and flip around. And then I thought about you because I knew we were coming on today. I thought how rude people are too, because like I'm struggling to get her in there. And these people are still trying to get out. It's like, do you not see me like blocking this area here with this wheelchair? It's like, you're trying to go around. It's like, I just wanted to go, like, I had to bite my tongue, right? Because I was like, but I knew we were getting on today. I was like, oh, I'm getting chills thinking about it. I'm just like, I can't believe this. And then later on, I thought, well, maybe it was the bathroom. Maybe I didn't go to the right, but they're all supposed to be ADA compliant. And so I went to another one. It was the same thing. I was like, oh my gosh, how, this is crazy.
Unfortunately, though, yes, the ADA is amazing, and thank goodness for that. But I mean, it's only really been established since like 1970, I don't know, 6,
okay,
4, 6, 9, somewhere in there, mid 70s. We'll just say that because I can't think of the exact date. But I mean, that's not very long. That's 50 years now. Right. What you'd think, we'd have, but I mean, I've been injured for now 23 years, so that's half of that time. And so the problem is a lot of buildings get grandfather clause pass. So if they're an older building, they don't necessarily have to meet all the things. And then also the ADA, like if they were considered compliant in the 80s, when stuff first started really getting enforced, the widths of doors and what they consider ADA has changed since then. But because they got their pass in the 80s, they're okay.
Wow.
So as far as the ADA goes, there's still a lot of missing pieces to it, I guess. I don't really know. There's just a lot of things that still need to be approved, and bathrooms being the biggest one. I mean, it is a constant issue that
I was just like so flabbergasted. So I just wanted to share that. So I want to go back a little bit when you're talking about, I'm a mom, and I know you're a mom, but here I am. I'm a mom thinking, wow, my 16-year-old daughter, I have 2 boys, so maybe it's my boy driving down a road and gets in this accident, and you're there for an hour and a half by yourself. I'm like going, how scary, is that? And then to think that you were, because of your, CNA, you were able to tell yourself this is what's happening, and, keep yourself, somewhat like focused on this is what's going to happen and all that. That's just, the courage is what comes to my mind is, courage to be able to go, okay, what I've just happened has happened to me, but I need to be focused on this is what's going to happen next. So that, wow. So that's
I was fine until somebody got there. Once somebody got there, that's when I lost it, and I was throwing dirt and I was crying, and I just totally that's when I broke down, is when there was somebody else there and I knew that I didn't have to take care of myself necessarily anymore, right, and that I could like release. That's when I lost it. That's when I started freaking out a little, like not like I still knew what was happening, but that's when I started like emoting. It happened to be a couple friends of mine that found me first. And so I was telling that, one was a year ahead of me in high school, and his girlfriend was a year behind me in high school. And they're the ones that found me first. And this is 98. They don't have a cell phone. So Christine stayed with me, and Jimmy went to go find a neighbor. We're out in rural Nebraska. The closest house is a mile and a half away. I'm out in the boonies. And so he went to go, and she stayed with me. And it was then that I'm picking up clumps of dirt, and I'm telling her, Christine, I want to get up, and I can't get up, and my legs don't want to work. I broke my back, Christine, I broke my back. And I was freaking out. And so that's when that happened.
Yeah. And I just sit there and think, as, like I said, as a mom, and now you have kids. How old are your kids again?
My oldest is 17. I have 17, 13, almost 9, and 7.
Wow. So, I mean, you probably now they're driving and, those nerves, I'm sure, come up, right? And we're normally nervous with our kids start driving because we know what we did, but then you have the extra layer of what's happened and changed your world. So, yeah. So tell me, I love that you also mentioned community, right? So the community that helped you and, reminded you. And I think that was such a powerful statement that you said that you are still Jon-Lee, right? You are still this vibrant, beautiful young lady and now, amazing woman. And so, oftentimes like we struggle with that, just like even just in everyday stuff that's not as, what you've dealt with, just little things, we struggle with that. So like when you felt that community around you, like how did you we still have to dig deep, like we have that community support and like you said, right? And I love your honesty, you still struggle, the anxiety, depression, I mean, and and those of us who don't have the same journey as you, some of us still do that as well. But so thinking about the audience and that in that journey of what you've done, and even those that haven't experienced the journey you have but have gone through challenges of their own lives, like what would you say to somebody sitting there today going, oh yeah, I don't care, I'm tired, I just, like you said, you've had those moments of, I'm done, right? And so what would you say to that person to help them dig deep and be like, listen, you've got this?
It's hard for everybody, and everybody's journey is different, and there's no cure all, and there's no like magic, like, oh, if you're depressed, you can just snap your fingers and this will make you feel better. But the reality is, I mean, we are our own worst enemies, and we are the only people that can control our feelings and our emotions. And so when we get into those moments, we're the only ones that can really pull us out. And so you have to do it for yourself. I mean, yes, your kids, your family, or whatever, they help also, but really, I mean, it's us. It's our stuff that's messing with ourselves. And so, whatever it may be, like I'm big on music therapy. Singing helps me, just it's different for everybody. And so that's my suggestion, is find something that makes you feel good, that makes you feel better, whatever it may be, and do that. Do it for an hour, do it for 5 hours, do it for a day, do it for a week, whatever it needs, whatever you need to do to be able to like pull yourself out of that. And also give yourself the permission to take that time to heal, to understand what's going on, to feel those things, because obviously you're feeling those things for a reason, so it stems from something. I mean, there's just, like I said, there's no magic. You can snap your finger and it's all just going to go away and you're going to feel better. But, it's not an easy thing. It takes work, and it takes you knowing that you are worth feeling better.
I love that you share that, like give yourself permission, because oftentimes, especially when I coach and I work with women where they feel guilty because, even as something as I always say is bubble baths are not self-care, but even if it's something as simple as taking a bubble bath, I'm like, they feel guilty of it. I was like, give yourself permission to have that 10, 15 minutes, 2-3 hours for, have a Jon-Lee day, have a Pearl day, have a whatever your name is day, right? Go and do something
exactly
day, because you can't pour into others' cups if you're not pouring into yours, right? And I love you said give yourself that permission to feel those feelings, because you know what, they do come up. And sometimes, some of the women I coach, and I've gone through it before, which is why I've done the journey that I'm doing in coaching, is I had those days where I felt guilty if I was like upset, like, what, I don't have a right to be upset, but you guys can all be projecting your upsetness at me. But when it's, and so give yourself that permission. And then also, I think too, the other part is like having communication with those you love, where you work, whatever that case is, to be like, hey, you know what, I'm going through some stuff. So if I'm, whatever, like let the people around you know, so they don't go, oh, she's just being a witch with a bee or whatever, So I think I love that you said that and give that permission. And so I want to ask you a question. Just want to dig deep, if you don't mind here. I want to ask you about your kids. Like how do your kids, I'm sure when they're with their friends, right, they get questions. And I'm sure I know in the show we did, I'm sure you've had some pretty crazy questions come at you, and I just can't imagine. You probably could write a comedy show about it. But like, how have you educated your children on how to deal with some of that they deal with? And then how does that relationship like around, because they've known is you being, your life, the journey that it is, right? So how have you helped them adjust to that?
Well, that's the thing. I don't know if I've necessarily, I mean, of course, I mean, I've explained to them what has happened to me, and why I am. And so, but that's just it. Like, they grew up like this is their mom. Like, they don't see or think anything different until they're older, about 4 or 5, 6 years old, and then they're starting to realize, oh, okay, like, why are you different, And so, like, and but yeah, so then it comes to the point where now, like, when we're out in public, and because my kids are very pretty open, like, I have one shy one that won't talk to anybody, my youngest. She won't talk to anybody for quite a while until she knows that you're okay. But all my other ones, they're a lot like me. They'll talk to anybody. um, and so, like, they just tell people, like, they'll meet somebody new and they're like, yeah, my mom's in a chair because she wrecked her car when she was 16, and so now her legs don't work. Like, they just, it's just not facts.
I love it.
Straight to the facts, and as far as other things, like stuff that they have with conversations with kids at school, they don't always necessarily tell me a lot of those. I've heard some stuff, but I have taught my kids to be very accepting, not only of me, but of other people. And so all of my kids are, I have to say, I love the fact that they're very compassionate. They've all had friends with varying other types of disabilities and things. And so, I mean, all moms are proud of their kids and love their kids and think they're the greatest, but I'm really proud of my kids. And I know that they haven't had a normal, easy, just regular kid kind of life, because yeah, they have a mom in a wheelchair. And then also, I was in an abusive relationship, and we've been through it, they've been through it with me, and, coming out of that, and just, unfortunately, my kids have seen some things and been around some things and all that. I think just like myself growing up, it made me a little stronger, a little more compassionate, but very aware of the world. And I'm hoping that my children end up that way, you know what I mean? That it makes them stronger, and just more aware, more compassionate, just because we all have our own struggles and stuff. And some are, like I said before, more obvious. Like, you can see me in my chair, like, that there's something physically wrong with me. Other things you can't see sometimes, but that doesn't mean that somebody's not going through something. And so we all just need to, and then that's what I've hopefully taught my kids, and I believe that I have, that you don't judge a person just by how they look or whatever. You judge them by their heart and their soul and what they are trying to do, and what you see in them. Not even if it's just a bum that's dirty on the street, he could still be an interesting person to talk to, that is a caring human being, that you don't necessarily know what they're going through. And so those are qualities that I see in my children that I'm very proud of, and I think that they have a lot to do with the fact that their mom's in a wheelchair.
Yeah, I was sitting here thinking while you're sharing that story about your kids, and I just love that you've got the one that's like, yeah, you guys all go be that way. I'm going to sit over here and be my little self. I just love that, from a girl who was shy when she was younger. So I get it. Kudos for that one. But I was sitting here thinking, you were saying things like talking about, seeing somebody on the street and things like that. I think often so many people prejudge what they're seeing, right? And so that empathy and that caring, I'm very much, so if I, like, whenever somebody's at the corner, I don't give them money. I give them a bottle of water. I give them something that I know, because, we know that there are some that are struggling with other addictions and things like that, but I want to know that they're nourished. Right. So
exactly.
Yeah. And so I feel like what you were describing your kids, I feel like one of the benefits they got with having, a mom who, as you said, in the chair is that they got to learn that caring and empathy and, understanding of what that's like. So when they go out in the world and they see other children or other adults or whatever they come across, they can understand from a point of, oh, I got you, and I understand it, right? Where I mean, I'm sure, like, we said a few seconds ago, you probably have heard all kinds of things. I mean, I remember our oldest is adopted, and he was born of our heart, and he's mixed race. And my mom and I, we were in Virginia at a mall shopping, and my family's completely white, and here's this mixed race, beautiful baby in a stroller, and this chick walks up to me. She's like, "Your husband must be a really nice looking black man." And I just looked up. I go, "No, he's not, because he's really not. He's a short Italian guy." But and my mom was like,
and so then she's like,
my mom's like, why did you just tell her? I go, it's not her business, but people don't think, because they don't realize they're being stupid when they're asking these questions, right? So I can imagine some of the stories you've had where, and I have a friend here locally that he was in a car accident. He, what do you call it? Hydroplaned on the road. And so he's paralyzed, I believe, from the neck down. I forget what they call it, paraplegic. Quadriplegic. Thank you. Yeah. But he is hugely successful. I know him through my marketing company that I'm with. He is, I believe he's the first person in the state of Florida that is not on Social Security help whatsoever. He's built his business straight from home in his chair, and he's so inspiring, empowering. In fact, he's in a book with me. And, he tells us crazy stories, but he always tells us, just treat me like I'm one of you, right? This here that I have is nothing. It's part of me, but I'm just like you, and I think that people need to understand that and learn that. So I say all that to say, what is, what's the craziest thing, and how do you make somebody feel comfortable when they don't know what to say to somebody that's in a chair?
But the first question was, what's the craziest thing that anybody's ever asked me?
And then how would you make us feel comfortable as somebody who, that you could tell is completely uncomfortable?
Well, they weren't uncomfortable. They were actually, this was mid-20s, and I was at a party with a friend of mine, and there was this guy there that had been kind of flirting with me a little bit, hitting on me a little bit, and then all of a sudden, he's like, "So you can't feel your legs?" And I was like, "Well, no, I can't." He's like, "So can I stab you?" I said, "What?" He's like, "Yeah, can I stab you?" And I was like, "No." And he's like, "Well, why not if you can't feel it?" And my friend that was with me, he's like, "She still bleeds, stupid." Like, I was like, "Do I get to stab you back?" He's like, "Well, no, because I can feel it." And I was like, "It doesn't matter that I can feel it. No, you can't stab me." So that was by far the craziest thing I think I've ever been asked.
I think that's crazy and stupid together.
Because I mean, I get all the normal, to me, the other stuff about you can have kids, like, how does that work? Well, it works the same way as it works for everybody else. But like, so that doesn't seem as crazy to me, like, or as ignorant.
Right.
So by far, the craziest and most ignorant thing that I've ever been asked, if I could be stabbed.
Very crazy. No, you don't bleed from that down. No, everything is like, she still has legs standing there. Oh my God.
And to go for the other question, and hopefully, I've seen a meme recently, a joke that it was a woman in a wheelchair, and this person's asking if, they could have sex. And she just says, "No, when I broke my back, my vagina sealed up like a Barbie doll."
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
So I'm sorry if that's a little crude, but it's just, I find it very, very humorous, because that's the thing, is people are still human beings, and we're still, like, I do a lot of boudoir modeling and stuff like that. Just because I like to push that envelope of, just because I'm in a wheelchair does not mean that I'm still not a sexual creature. I'm still a woman. I'm still, I'm still a human being. And we're still, like, I do a lot of boudoir modeling and stuff like that. Just because I like to push that envelope of, just because I'm in a wheelchair does not mean that I'm still not a sexual creature. I'm still a woman. I'm still, I'm still, I'm still a human being. And we're still, like, I do a lot of boudoir modeling and stuff like that. Just because I'm in a wheelchair does not mean that I'm still not a sexual creature. I'm still a woman. I'm still, I'm still just like everybody else.
Wants and needs like everybody else, man, female, or whatever, right?
Yeah, man, female, it doesn't matter. Human beings are human beings. And, I mean, and sex is part of being a human being. I mean, or else we would not have human beings, And so it's just,
yeah,
I get a lot of those questions, though. I mean, a few times a week, at least, especially if I'm talking to new people. That's just always one of the first things, because they just don't expect me to have kids. And so once they find out I have kids, they're like, oh, well, so like, did you have them naturally? Did you have to have C-sections? Like, how does that work? I mean, and those are normal questions, I would think, and I did have all my children naturally. My youngest, my shy one, she almost was a cesarean because she just kept flipping over. She kept doing some somersaults. And so it was like she'd be head down, butt down, head down, butt down, head down, butt down. And they're like, well, basically we'll do an ultrasound like when you go into labor, and if she's, butt down, we're gonna have to take a cesarean.
Wow.
And hopefully, and so luckily she decided to flip again and everything was fine, because I really didn't want to have a cesarean. I was really, really scared of that. I've had a lot of surgeries, but for some reason I was just terrified of a cesarean. Well, because I have to be completely put under, because I can't do like an epidural because of the rods in my back and my spinal cord injury. And so like I would have to be completely put under, like breathing tube, the whole 9 yards. And and then come out of it like I'm coming out of surgery. And I've come out of plenty of surgeries, and that's not what you want to do. I mean, and bless all the women who go through that. I understand. Sometimes it's very necessary. I was very scared for myself. And so I really give props. Like even one of my nieces had to have a cesarean, and I was just like, I'm so scared for you, and I know it's okay and it's done all the time and all that, but it's just
scary. Yeah. So I had a C-section about a month before I was due for my C-section, because I'd had so many female issues. A month before I was due, a friend of mine's wife had a C-section, and there was a problem with the epidural, and she ended up having a stroke, and she's fine now. But so that really I was like, oh my gosh. So I was like, the doctors, when I went in, they go, oh yeah, we know that case, you're going to be fine. So I want to bring us forward to what you're doing now. Like, let's talk about what you're doing, the acting, and how you're inspiring other actors and actresses that are overcoming challenges, that have been part of their journey. Like, what inspired you to start everything you're doing now?
Well, it was when I was in college and I was doing theater. Even in high school, I was always like a stage manager and assistant director and stuff like that, because I've always loved behind the scenes as much as I love being on the stage. And when I got into college, my main theater director, she offered me a scholarship to be assistant director of the theater department. And I, of course, took that very happily. And she was just really honest with me. She's like, Jon-Lee, she's like, not that you're not talented. She's like, you're a wonderful actress. She goes, but the roles aren't there. She goes, and you have a talent. She's like, your continuity. She's like, you could go and if you just wanted to be a continuity expert, like that, because I'm a freak for details. She's like, you could do that. She's like, but really, she's like, I'd like you to, really start directing more and seeing like that side of it. She goes, because you can always do that. She goes, even if somebody won't cast you. Because she cast me in roles that weren't necessarily for somebody in a wheelchair. Like I played Mrs. Cratchit a few years in a row for A Christmas Carol. And I played a few other roles that weren't at all written for somebody in a wheelchair, but she allowed me that opportunity because she saw my talent, and she was willing to kind of work around it. And there's nothing in the script that says Mrs. Cratchit can't be in a wheelchair. And I'm like, really? It kind of works, because like there's something wrong with Tiny Tim. Like if there's something wrong with his mom, like it kind of, it can work. And to me, like it did. And to other people that watched, it was like, oh wow, like yeah, that was interesting. And it was just a fun role to play. but she's like, not everybody's going to be as willing to do that as I am. And that's the facts of it. You know, not everybody can see that could work or not work, you know? And so she was really honest with me and like, I want you to start directing. And because even if you can't be in front, you can always do this. And so she really inspired me. And then after college, when I was really starting to pursue acting jobs on my own, and it was just like, closed door after closed door after closed door after closed door, I started a company, Luna Theater Company, which Luna stood for Love, Understanding, Nurturing, and Awareness. And all of our productions were to raise awareness for other nonprofits and their causes. We did stuff on domestic violence, autism, organ donation, diabetes, the list goes on. We did quite a few productions in Nebraska and then here in Arizona. And then a few years ago, I had to go into the hospital for like a whole year. And so that's when I shut down Luna, because I had gotten a sore when I was pregnant with my youngest, and doctors and insurance, and just, it took me 4.5 years to be able to get it fixed. And so that's when I had to kind of shut everything down with Luna. And then afterwards, while I was in the hospital, another friend of mine, he's an amputee. That's my co-founder for Differently Abled. He's like, let's do this. He's like, I know you've always done theater, but I mean, I want to do more film. And I have done some films, but I'm still kind of just breaking into the film scene because I was always so into theater. So he's like, let's do this. He's like, let's, you know, not only for us, but for our other people, like we need more representation. And I mean, that's just the facts, because disabled people are only represented like 1% to 2% on film and TV. And most of those are played by actors that are actually not disabled. And so we would like to have that representation in film and TV by actual actors that actually are disabled. You know, I mean, to me, I mean, and this might seem very extreme to some, but it's offensive. It's like when people get you know, find it offensive that somebody is playing another race that they don't belong to. For me, it's just just as offensive for somebody that's not disabled to play somebody that's disabled. You know, it's just, and there's so many talented actors and actresses out there that are disabled that really, the excuse that whatever Hollywood and everybody has been using for all these years, like I can't get behind it anymore.
Yeah, I agree with you, because I'm thinking about a show I watch now that one of the characters, you know, is in a chair. But I'm thinking, you know, you're right, especially what you said about people playing other, you know, race and something, like changing that up. You know, you never think about that. And I hope the listeners are listening to this, that, you know, start reaching out and asking for more of that. I have a cousin, she's no longer with us, but she had Down syndrome. And it's been amazing to see that there's more characters, you know, now at Down syndrome. And I watched the show, and I'm not promoting it, but the 911 on Monday nights, where the son is, I think he has cerebral palsy, and he's actually has cerebral. I'm like, I love when, like you said, I love to see that they're actually,
you
know, doing their.
Yeah, there's a few shows now that are starting to do that more on Netflix. And I'm sorry, I'm not trying to promote, but I've just noticed a lot of their original content now it's got a lot. They have so many ones that include differently abled, disabled actors that are wide range. Yes, like you said, I've seen a lot with cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, you know, autism, right. You know, like it's just, to me, every time I see it, I'm just like,
yeah, I was thinking that's what I was thinking. She probably is just like, so like, okay, we're making progress. Small progress is progress, right? We're getting there, right? And I love that you said differently abled. I love that word, because, you know, that disabled, I used to be like, why? It's just like, they're still able to do things like we've been talking here today. It doesn't mean, you know, it's just that we're different. So,
and that's, I mean, and some people within the disabled community find differently abled offensive. And so to those, I am sorry for that. But yeah, to me, I am not able.
Right.
You know, and that's what I hear, you know. I mean, yes, there are things that I am not able to do. And I mean, I still use disabled, you know, it's whatever, but I like differently abled because I think that applies to every human being. We are all,
yes.
no matter what it may be, every human being is differently abled.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, we all have different strengths, weaknesses, capabilities, talents, you know, that make us different, but we are all able to do those things. Like whether, you know, like it doesn't matter, like you said, you know, if they're a quad, like it doesn't matter. I have friends of mine that are quads that work, that are, you know, it's up here. And like, you know, what we were saying before, like, I mean, it's up to us. We are the only person that can make that shift within ourselves, that can figure out like what it is that we love to do, that we're passionate about, that, you know, that drives us.
Right.
And then that's what you got to do. And that's what helps you feel better.
I think you just gave us a perfect way to kind of get ready to close us out. And that is that, you know, we are all different in so many ways, and we are all able to do so many different things. And what our mind tells us is what keeps us back from doing those things that we are really able to do. And I share that. That's some of the things I love to share, is that our story is already pre-done by whoever you want to, you know, whoever you believe in, whatever faith anybody's listening to believes in. It's already been decided what your journey is going to be, you know, and what you do with it is up to you. But I love that you're sharing your story today with me, because I often say, if we keep the story to ourselves, that's selfish. Like, right? Like there's people listening to us that are differently able, like yourself, that if they hadn't heard this before, maybe they were going to sit there and thinking, I can't ever do that. I can't do that. But then they're going to hear you today and be like, you know, I can do anything. Or there's going to be women, men, whatever, sitting around going, I don't want to get up out of my bed today because, you know, I just don't want to do this anymore. But then when they hear, you know, all of us talking about, we have talents, and when we don't do things like what you're doing, and even what I'm doing, and bringing our message out and sharing it, it's selfish, because we're cheating ourselves to share our story and inspire others. But we're also cheating somebody who needs to hear that story, that's going to make a difference in her life. And I heard somebody saying on that, I love 911. So I'm just going to tell it today. Hopefully they're listening and they can promote us, but whatever. But I heard them say the character this week was struggling because she had saved somebody, just freakingly saved somebody. And somebody looked at her and said, that one person you saved is probably going to save how many other lives, because that person ended up being a doctor. So by you saving that doctor, how many other lives have they saved? Right. Yeah. So by you sharing your story today with us, how many lives are we changing today? We don't know, but we know there's going to be many. So I am so honored you took the time to stay with us and join us today. Before we go into how we close out the show, which everybody knows we do our cards, can you tell everybody where they can best find you on social media? We're also going to share it when we post, but just let everybody know.
You can find me on Facebook, Jonni J. Campbell, or Jon-Lee Campbell. I have a page that you can like. And also I'm on Instagram and TikTok, Jonni Gypsy. And yeah, it's just Jonni. I'm usually one of the first ones to pop up because there's not a lot of us.
And that makes it cool. I love it. Well, thank you so much. So what we're going to do, as our audience knows, if you're new to our show, we have these amazing cards. They're called Better Questions, Better Life. And so they're just really powerful cards that I journal on, I meditate on. And so we're going to shuffle them, and you're going to tell us, Jonni, when to stop, and then you're going to answer the question. So here we go. Tell me when to stop.
Stop.
Okay, so let's see what your question is. Oh, your question is, what is success? So what is success to you?
Wow. To me, success is finding true happiness. I don't think it comes from monetary anything. I mean, yes, that makes life more comfortable, but I think success really comes from within. And, you know, success to me also requires a lot of failure to get success. Like if something just is so super easy, like, is it really a success? I think you have to kind of go through some struggles. And yeah, success is when you really can achieve like true happiness.
I love that. I love that, because I often share that, you know, we have these goals, right, that we set for ourselves. We have to climb a mountain, and when we climb the mountain, we might have to stop and take a break along the way. So that's, and look back and get those lessons. So I love that you shared that today. I'm so excited you're here with us today. And I can't wait till everybody gets to know you more, and we see you out on the big screen. I know it's going to come. I think it's just so powerful. And so you're welcome. And so before we close out the show, I want to remind everybody, you can go to wsliving.com. That's wsliving.com. Find us there. We're at Conversations with Pearl. And also our annual pajama retreat is coming up in September. So if you're listening to this and you want to get away, and you're a female, want to get away for 4 or 5 days with a community of amazing women that are experiencing some challenges in their life, they want to overcome those challenges and be inspired and mentored, I would love for you to join us. Check us out at wsliving.com, and you will find retreats on there. So with that said, I hope you guys all remember that we come into this world, we're this oyster, we're a little rough on the outside, but as you open the oyster on the inside, there's this beautiful pearl. And I want you all to go find your inner pearl to greatness. Have a great day.
Hello, sunshine, good to see you again. Had to walk out to let you back in. Stuck in a storm of a relationship. Lost my fire.